Well, welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Morro Bay Water Reclamation Facility Citizens Advisory Committee. We have a quorum. Looks like everyone is here except our chair, John, and he probably be here in a minute. And I
did get a text from Mr. Diodati as I was running in the door, and he unfortunately cannot, he's stuck. He cannot make it.
I read about him in the paper, I think. There's Paso Robles things going on. And so, yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. And let's have a moment of silence, please. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this gets us to announcements and presentations. I would go to Rob first if you want, or we can go to the public. Are you ready, or looks like you're ready?
I really don't have any announcements or presentations for today.
All right. How about the public? Anyone over there that wants to amplify on their great store of knowledge concerning this very important subject? No? Okay, then we get to public comment. I think we just went through that. We don't want to go any further. The consent calendar is the approval of our previous minutes. Kay gave us a little revision. It's just a date of the meeting update, so that's all it is, right, Kay? That there's no other changes. Okay, I will entertain any changes to those minutes or a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting as revised.
Okay, second? We need a second.
Second. I'll second that.
There we go. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay, then we get to an update. Rob, can you give us an update of where we are and what we need to do, and before we get to the old business?
Sure. This is a new item. Since we bring this item to council once a month, I thought it'd be valuable in including it with this packet also. And it's a summary of how much contract for the project where we're at so far, and then also a summary of key activities and some upcoming activities. So I'm not going to go over the how many ever pages of lists of activities we're up to now over the last couple of years, but some of the key activities that we have just recently worked on and are working on. We had a facilities master plan that was released for public proposals. We did receive 2 proposals, and we have your appointed review committee. We met with them last week, I think. The first. And we discussed the questions that we want to do in the interviews. Those interviews are scheduled for June 16th, and one in the morning and one in the afternoon. We also released on May 28th a RFQ for environmental review services, CEQA and NEPA services, and those statements of qualifications will be due back on the 14th of July. We also released an RFP for project management services on June 1st, and those will be also due back on July 14th. And later on in this agenda, we'll be looking for this board to appoint 2 to 3 members to serve as assistants in reviewing them and interviewing those consultants for the process and making recommendations to the entire board and then ultimately to council to begin that work. We will have a pre-proposal meeting for those 2 requests that we have out next Friday. So the prospective consultants that are looking to do that work will come in and ask us any questions that they might have, and we'll have our review committee members attend those 2 meetings also. So next Friday, the environmental review in the morning and then the project management in the afternoon. I think that's it for the synopsis of this update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks might have about this.
Yeah, Paul?
Yeah, you have a couple of sub-consultants working right now, hydrogeologic and other things. What's the progress of those people?
So Fugro is doing some site investigation. I believe they've mobilized their CPT sub-consultant rig, and they're out there doing some pushes into the valley to assess the evaluate and confirm previous studies that have been done out there. Morro Valley's been looked at a bunch of different times, and so but we're looking to address it specifically for groundwater recharge. We never really asked that question directly in the past. The biologist has completed their field work, and they're compiling their report that will be available for the environmental consultant. And archaeology, believe I don't know if they've made contact, the property owner's not here today, so I don't know if they were trying to schedule a time when they could get out to the site. So this week, okay.
Anyone else? Did I see Richard or no? Barbara?
No, we're good, thank you.
Oh, I have a question. Groundwater recharge, is that the test where you insert some fluid or marker upstream or at site and then see if you can find it at the wells at Morro Wells? Is that the test?
No, they're not going to probably that level of analysis. What they're doing is cone penetrometer testing. So they drive a cone that's basically collecting data as that probe goes down into the soil to look for good spots for percolation, perhaps. They'll also be looking at the site itself for its geotechnical properties to make sure that the site that we all looked at is suitable for constructing concrete structures on. We've seen previous soils report. We don't see anything that it would be fatal flaws, but we're just dotting the I's, crossing the T's on this and making sure that, and this will feed back into that environmental work.
I have one more question. The site, Rancho Colina, is it closer or further away from becoming a reality in light of Cayucas not being a partner? In other words, you've got LAFCO, you've got the county, you've got the Board of Supervisors, you've got spheres of influence, you've got a lot of factors in there. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
I don't think Cayucas investigating their own possibilities really changed the city's approach in developing the site. We're still moving forward, and we will carry the alternative to keeping them on as a partner, perhaps a customer partner, as long as we can until we have to make that decision on the size of the plant. So we will continue to leave that door open to the Cayucas community as long as we can. And, we've made that known with Cayucas too. And I think they've, from what I've heard, they are moving forward with getting some engineering help to start their own investigations also.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, well, that takes care of that. That gets us to B, old business, and that gets us to our subcommittee updates, and we'll start with finance. Jenny?
Okay.
Oh, it's right here. She's up, okay.
So we have a couple of, is this on now? Yes, ma'am. Okay. We've got a couple of items that the Finance Subcommittee is wanted to discuss. And so basically, this is just an update of financial assistance funding for grants and loans. With respect to Proposition 1, also the Water Quality Supply and Infrastructure Improvement Act of 2014, just to refresh everybody's memory, that authorized $7.545 billion in general obligation bonds for water projects, including surface water and groundwater storage, ecosystem and watershed protection and restoration, and drinking water protection. So the State Water Resources Control Board is administering Prop 1 funds for 5 different programs: wastewater, water recycling, drinking water, stormwater, and groundwater. 3 of those programs have significant commonalities with the purposes of the Clean Water SRF program. And funding authorized by Prop 1 for these 3 programs is $260 million for the small community wastewater projects, $725 million for water recycling projects, and this also includes $100 million for desalination projects, and $200 million for stormwater projects. So funding for the projects under the Small Community Wastewater Program and the Water Recycling Program are anticipated in state fiscal year 2015-16, whereas $200 million in funding for projects under the Stormwater Program and $800 million in funding for groundwater sustainability projects is anticipated in state fiscal year 2017. So to receive updates on the Small Community Water and Wastewater Program, the public is encouraged to visit the State Water Resources Control Board website at www.waterboards.ca.gov. And current information about this program is also provided in the Small Community Water and Wastewater section newsletter. And I have a copy of it that I wanted to share. I'll give it to you. Here it is. So if you'd like to receive a copy of this newsletter, you want to get the latest news on the funding programs that I just mentioned, you go to Financial Assistance under Water Boards and sign up for the program, so you'll be on their listservs. But it really does have some pretty amazing information. One thing that caught my eye, and maybe Rob, you can respond to this, it said that that the California statewide MHI is 61,094, and the disadvantaged MHI is 48,875. What is where does Morro Bay stand?
My last check with the state board on that, our MHI, we were, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but we were just slightly above the limit, and we were on Bridget's list. We were on the no-go side of the disadvantaged communities. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't do a more localized assessment and show benefit to a more localized disadvantaged community with a portion of the project. But it just takes more work to do that, to show that you can directly benefit a portion of your community that is a disadvantaged community.
Okay, that's great to know. I'm going to pass this up.
And we'll put a link to that on our city project website. Good. So that, because I've signed up for that, so that, and the Prop 1 recycling planning grant loan guidelines are in draft form and are out, and we're reviewing those. And I'll send a copy of that to the Economic Financial Subcommittee, so you can take a look at those grant guidelines also.
So you're going to put a link for this
for the page so that if you want to sign up to get information.
And that'll be on,
the city's WRF
Okay.
update page.
got that? Because I think this is good stuff. You're still going. It's still your table.
Mary, could you pull your microphone closer to, it doesn't appear to be on, I'm sorry.
Did you not hear any of that?
No, I could hear that, but I had to crank it up.
Is the switch on?
I apologize, Mary. I said yes before I shut up. That sounds like on. Thank you.
Okay, is this better?
That's much better.
Oh, great, okay. Sorry, folks, if you didn't hear me.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. The next is an update on the CW SRF IUP for state fiscal year 15-16. And basically, that's the intended use plan that describes how management will operate the SRF, this Clean Water SRF program in conjunction with other financial mechanisms such as Prop 1. And I believe this plan was adopted at the latest state board meeting on June 2nd. I was trying to confirm that.
I think so.
But it looks like it was. Again, a copy of the Clean Water SRF intended use plan, that's also available on the Water Board's website. And I wanted to provide you, Rob, a copy of a table that was in the report, and maybe you can try to explain this to me. This is Table 4 is the eligibilities and funding maximums. So how does that relate to Morro Bay?
Well, you could come back. It's not something that you need to tap dance about.
Okay.
If you want to think about it and bring it back, that's fine too.
Okay, I'll carry on then. The next item we wanted to bring to your attention was the California Financing Coordinating Committee funding fairs. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because several people have approached us and asked how they could get involved in terms of funding mechanisms. If they learn about funding mechanisms, how can they give that information to not just the committee, but to the full subcommittee or the full committee? So I wanted to mention that the funding fairs provides opportunities to obtain information about currently available infrastructure, grant, loan, and bond financing programs and options. And the fairs are free of charge, and each attendee receives a copy of all slide presentations and additional information on infrastructure financing. So this year, the CFCC has scheduled 6 funding fairs throughout the state of California, and the last one is going to be held in Sacramento on September 23rd. And this workshop will also be presented as a webcast. So again, for anybody in the public that's interested in this, for more information about the funding fairs, you can go to www.cfcc.ca.gov. And then finally, on the federal level, I wanted to provide a quick update on EPA's Water Infrastructure Finance Program. In April, I provided information on this new water infrastructure financing program. And you'll recall that the program was created to fill in a perceived gap in the clean water and drinking water SRF programs. And its goal is to provide financing mechanisms such as low-interest loans or guarantees for water-related infrastructures, including construction of POTWs and water recycling projects. And as I mentioned, criteria used to evaluate projects include the extent to which the project is regionally significant with respect to the generation of economic and public benefits, such as the reduction of flood risk, improvement of water quality and quantity, and including aquifer recharge. So I talked with EPA this morning, and they're developing guidance. They're continuing to develop the guidance, and they expect to issue it later this year. They're hopeful that they're going to get funding for projects in FY16, but again, it's contingent on congressional funding. But what was interesting in the conversation I had was that initially EPA plans to fund pilot projects to work out the kinks in the program implementation. So, and I mentioned Morro Bay, and they said, well, maybe Morro Bay would be a good candidate for a pilot project. So what I'm going to suggest is that maybe, Rob, you could look into this further, and I could provide you with the contact information. Okay, so the last item I wanted to mention was for folks that think that our wastewater treatment plant is extraordinarily expensive and that there aren't any funding mechanisms around. I ran across an EPA press release last month where they announced a $1.6 billion, that's a B, in Clean Water Act funds to upgrade Sacramento's regional wastewater plant. So this is a record, $1.6 billion in Clean Water Act state revolving funds. It's the largest single block of financing ever issued, and this would be to upgrade the Eco Water project. But the difference between Morro Bay and this project is their wastewater plant serves approximately 1.4 million people, and it currently provides secondary treatment. But by the time the project's built, it will treat to advanced levels, removing nearly 95% of ammonia from wastewater discharges. So I had just a couple of questions for you, Rob, in addition to what I handed out. Basically, first, what is the status of the contract for Kestrel Consultants?
They still have an outstanding contract with us, so they're still on board. They're not doing a lot of active work for us yet until we get the project manager on board to oversee their work. So probably in the next month or so, they'll be doing much more work for us.
Okay. And what is the role of the city staff in identifying and evaluating grant opportunities?
We look for grant opportunities and apply for the ones that we think we will be successful at and that are appropriate to apply for. Many of the grant opportunities right now are for construction dollars, and you need CEQA complete, a project description. We don't have that. We're not ready for that yet. So we are working on what we can work on right now. The table that you, there's a lot of footnotes to it, which not included in here, so I don't know the complete explanation of everything in it.
Right.
But what it looks like is they have a forgiveness of principal there for certain classifications of rates based on a median household income. So if Morro Bay is not a disadvantaged community as a whole, so we would fall into the any. So far, wastewater rates are greater than 4% of median household income. They can forgive up to 50% of the project cost to a maximum of $6 million. And then there's a whole bunch of footnotes after that. So I don't know what all the footnotes, there must be some conditions to that also, I would assume. And it's for, we do fit within the population range, so it's not the 10,000, which is typical of small communities, it's 20,000.
Right.
So it appears that there might be some potential for principal forgiveness on a SRF loan.
Okay. That's big news. Yeah. What is the WRF-CAC Finance Subcommittee's role, in your opinion, regarding financing for the WRF? Is it just a process to provide updates like we're doing right now, or do you have something more substantial in mind?
I think updates, and when we get more fully engaged with our financial consultant to work with them to bring these things to our attention, make sure that we're looking at them as we complete applications. I would hope that you would help us review our application to make sure that we have a complete application and we've described things that meet the grant guidelines the best way, that we put us in the best position to get the best financing that we can. That's kind of the way I see the role.
That's helpful. That's helpful. So if other members of the community would like to provide information about funding sources for the WRF, what's the process for submitting this information? In other words, what's the proper protocol the public might use if they're interested in communicating with the with either the full or the WRF CAC or the subcommittee? Does the Brown Act speak to this?
So if they want to meet with the subcommittee is less than a majority of the board. So you could meet with anybody at any time. There's no Brown Act issues with that.
Okay.
Unless, of course, if you're meeting with maybe another Brown Act board, I might have to get some legal advice on that. So like if you wanted to meet with a less than quorum of, let's say, the Public Works Advisory Board, then it could be an issue. I'm not 100% sure, because that's one of the reasons this is a Brown Act committee, is because we have participants from other boards on this board, and it was formed by council. So I'll find out before the next meeting on that issue, just to make sure that, but if general public, meet with them at any time. I believe your email contacts, a link to them are on our website. So if folks want to email you, they could do that and get information. They can come to this meeting, present at the public comment period.
Okay.
Call you?
Call me.
Yeah.
772-6569 is my direct phone line. So again, 805-772-6569. It just keeps you from having to go through our great automated information system. That's why I give out my direct line now.
So I have one final question, and that's with regard to a memo that all of us signed back in November. And that's when we mentioned that Los Osos was able to obtain funding from USDA for their wastewater treatment plant, despite having a population greater than 10,000, which was the population threshold for the USDA grant, for the rural community grants. And we heard that Los Osos was able to do this because they got a congressional exemption. So we recommended that Morro Bay pursue a similar path, and I'm wondering whether Morro Bay has met with Congresswoman Capps or her staff to discuss this. And the only reason I'm bringing this up again is I was looking through the current grant list, available grants, and really there are at least 4 USDA rural development grants that could benefit Morro Bay if there were some way we could get around that population threshold.
No, we have not met with Capps' office.
Do you plan to do so?
I'll work with our new deputy city manager on doing that.
Okay. Did I capture everybody's concerns?
I think you did very adequately. Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's it?
There's a lot of information in there, Ginny. Rob, is it possible to attach that to the minutes, or at least put it on screen when Kay distributes the
We can
tentative
put it
minutes?
as an attachment to the minutes if you want to submit that for the record.
I think that would be very helpful to me.
Yeah.
Here's.
And thanks for a very, very meaty, fruitful report.
You're welcome.
Anyone else of that subcommittee want to chime in? Okay. Okay, well, we have 2 more subcommittees. We have the environmental and engineering subcommittees. Is there any reports from either of those?
Environmental committee has not met. There's nothing to report right now.
All right.
Same goes for the engineering.
Okay. So, remember, you can go to the website for the information that Jenny just gave us. I lost the sheet. I think.
Oh, Bruce has it.
Bruce has it.
Now.
Could you show it up? Maybe the camera can catch it, Bruce. There you go. If you want to go to the city website,
We'll have a link up.
It'll be available. Okay, good. Thanks. And that takes care of old business. It gets us to new business. Before we get there, is there any public comment on any of this that just went down?
Bob Keller, Morro Bay. I just heard Mary's report. It's very good. And I just was familiar with some of the other recycling plants that are in California. And one of them is American Canyon up at Napa Valley. I'm not sure what kind of funding they got, but they got a beautiful facility up there. And also, I guess you all saw the one on 60 Minutes, Orange County. Maybe we can check them out and see how much funding they got. So I don't know, but maybe American County, they may have the population closer to ours than Orange County, but maybe check them out. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Just my quick calculation on this table, our wastewater rates would need to be about $200 a month to qualify for the principal forgiveness.
Okay.
So this gets us to new business, and the new business is of two parts, and what we're going to do is appoint committee members to various subcommittees for from our committee, and the first one is for RFQ, which is Request for Qualifications for the Water Reclamation Facility, CEQA and NEPA Compliance Services Review Committee. Do you have any recommendations, maybe two?
Two or three, so anything less than a majority could sit on.
Is anyone interested? Any members interested? Val's one. We got one. Anyone else? Well, Val, you get to report to us. Anyone else want to volunteer? Okay.
Yeah, John Dion. Right.
We'll appoint John to the...
That's a good idea. Val and John. Okay. That's good enough for me. Anyone else have any nominations on the floor besides Val and John? Never miss a meeting when there's committees. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we get to the second one now. This is a good one. RFP, Water Reclamation Management Services Review Committee. Any volunteers there? I volunteer for that one, for one, and I'm looking forward to that. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, can you explain?
This is the project manager or program management, so they'll be overseeing the entire project, probably in a task order driven process. So we're not going to give them, a big bucket of money and say, go away and deliver us a wastewater treatment plant. They'll have to report back to us at certain steps. But they will be taking on kind of the day-to-day running of the project in concert with city staff, but they'll be taking a load off of Bruce and I so that we can get back to our regular jobs.
And report to you on a frequent basis.
Report out to this committee, report out to city council, and any other bodies that we see fit that they need to report to.
Anyone?
So, kind of some sub work to that will be finance. They'll be working closely on funding applications. So they'll also be, excuse me?
Will they be doing public outreach?
Public outreach will also be a key task of their contract. And then project management, scheduling, making sure that everybody is doing what they need to do. So
this is a very critical element of the overall project, and if we get a good one here, it's going to be a big step to a successful project.
And the activity here, you're looking for a volunteer from the committee, is to evaluate the proposals, help assist with the
and
selection.
help with the selection
and the
of
criteria.
Interview the consultants.
I'll help.
Okay, there's two, Barbara and Bill. Anyone else?
I volunteer.
And Ginny. Okay, how's 3 sound?
it's less than a majority, so it's perfect.
Okay, anyone else? So we don't need an election or a winnowing down. Okay, all in favor of the three, Barbara, Jenny, and
How about somebody make a motion and then a second?
Okay.
If we don't,
Okay.
we'll
I
do
make
it
a motion to appoint Barbara, Mary, and Bill to the review committee for the program management portion.
Second? Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of that.
And if we could just take a step back, just for the record, do the same thing for the environmental committee. 'Cause we forgot to do the.
Okay, we need a motion for the RFQ volunteers from this committee to be part of the services, NEPA and CEQA Compliance Review Committee.
I'll make a motion for Valerie and John to be on that committee.
Second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Just the notice.
I didn't want John.
Okay, that takes care of the new business. Before I go around the table, did you want to make some closing remarks, Rob?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay. Okay, well, let's start with Dale. Dale, Steve?
No,
Paul?
I'm fine, thank you.
Just thank you, Mr. Whitson, again for chairing our meeting. You do a good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Val. How about you, Jeannie? Barbara?
No, thanks.
Richard?
School's out with the little grommets tomorrow, so kind of have to be safe there driving.
Be careful.
Dodging cars, you know. Anyway, other than that, have a great summer.
Maybe I'll just add to Richard's comments, because I did walk to school with a group of parents this morning and remembered, stop at the stop signs, not just roll through the stop signs. Watch at the corners, because kids do have a tendency to dart out. Just be careful. And the same thing to the kids out there. As much as possible, recognize your surroundings.
Very good. Okay, well, our next regularly scheduled meeting is July 8th, 3 o'clock, same time, same place, right here in the Community Center multi-purpose room. And so I can call this meeting adjourned.
And I'll let John know that he is appointed to the to all committees.